Hey, hello, good morning, and welcome to the last stream of the week, Friday. But it's Friday, for me at least. Yay! Hello, Tahira. It is the final chapter today. Hooray! The final chapter of book 2. So excited. Extremely excited. I don't know what's more exciting, to end book 2 or start book 3. I think it's start book 3. And congratulations, Eagle, for getting first. Congrats. Sorry, Hack. But welcome. Very exciting day. Ending and starting at the same time. What a treat. What a treat. Not having to wait for anything. Anything at all. It's okay, Hack. Don't worry about it. There are VODs and free will. And a job. Hey, congrats on the new job. Speaking of dog, I had a meeting with my landlord yesterday, and they said I'm allowed to get a dog. So I'm gonna get a dog. Yay! They said that it's fine as long as it's within or it's not taller than 40 centimeters in shoulder height. So I'm like, what kind? I don't know, because I didn't know. Because I asked like, okay, what size is okay? So I wanted to know that first before I started looking at breeds. Because I was like, what if I find, like, if I find a too tall one, then I'm not allowed to have it anyway. So, well, there is no dog yet. There is no dog. But thank you. I'm just allowed, and I know what size measurements I have to work with. So now it actually starts. Common in Europe, all of them. Europe is way too big of a, like, all of them. All and any. We'll see what I find. We'll see what I find. Very exciting though. Very happy about it. I look forward to it. But anyway, no dog yet. Rip. Dog in the future, yes. And trust me, you will hear it, you will notice, and you will see it all over my Instagram. I swear. Only 5. What? Okay. Well, you're also talking to someone who's worked with dogs, so I'm like, I've seen every breed, you know? Like mixed, like what, like breeds I didn't know exist, and I was like, what the fuck is this thing? I was like, oh, this is also a dog. I'm like, yes, of course. If you want something unique. Every dog is unique in their own way. Oh, I don't know yet. We will see how what's available to me here in Germany. But it's interesting, very hype. Oh, really? I love it. It's very fun. Like from Coco. Yeah, I that's what I pictured as well. That's what I pictured. But yeah, I'm very happy that I got this book as well. These books. And I've been allowed, thank you so much once again. Always Rosa One, thank you for this opportunity. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. And that we have book 3 ready to fucking go. And we will start it today. We just have one final chapter of book 2 left. And then it's book 3. So let's just recap this shit and get going. Oh, there's voice acting. Yeah, I'm not gonna do any of that. But that's nice. Good job, them. Okay. It's a yawn. Get it out of my system so it doesn't bother me. Last time on A Soldier's Life. Eric adds Relia to his storage and kills the elf summoner so Constantine can get his magic sword back. Mage Sebastian gets killed by a tricky wyvern, which then attacks Constantine and Eric. Constantine runs away and assumes that Eric is dead, but of course, he survives. Mavieth finds Eric and takes him back to the company, where they prank the shit out of Constantine. And it was very funny. And now onwards we go. What's this? Oh. Nothing. What even says epilogue? Chapter 121. Flavius and Constantine. Epilogue. The early morning sun was rising, but the forest was shrouded in a mild fog of late fall as 2 men in crimson armor jogged through the woods. One scouted to the left, the other to the right, as they progressed in harmony. Flavius, on the right, asked, "You didn't know he could heal, did you?" Constantine remained silent for a while as they raced toward the site where the wyvern had killed Master Mage Sebastian. Slightly out of breath, he finally responded, "No, I did not know he could heal himself." There was silence between them for a while as Constantine tried to remember the battle at the aqueduct, replaying Eric's actions in his mind while maintaining his alertness. Flavius asked another question. "Where is Eric from? Someone told me Tsingya, but he's awfully pale and tall for being from that southern kingdom. I feel like shit's going to hit the fan soon. Like, if this is a conversation that's happening, like, Eric is gonna get a lot of hard questions to answer." Constantine signaled for them to halt and take cover as a giant elk appeared ahead, grazing. The elk raised its massive rack to study the 2 men. Elks were dangerous this time of year, as they were rutting and fiercely defending their territory. They moved to the right in unison to avoid the beast. "He is from Tsingya, some backwater village. Appearances do not mean much. There are always outliers," Constantine said, defending Eric. "Aw, thank you!" When the 2 men paused to refill their canteens, Constantine had a question for Flavius. "Why did you want to come with me so badly? Do you owe Sebastian's family something?" Flavius coughed on the water he was drinking. "No." He glanced over his shoulder, as if worried about being overheard. "I'm glad he is dead, and seeing the body myself will quell some bad dreams. He had no family besides his brother, at least none I'm aware of. I think a few illegitimate children are on his estate, but all his property will revert to Duke Octavian as it is in his province." Constantine paused to process the information. "I did not know that was where his estate was located. I heard he had quite a menagerie of creatures. Flavius was removing his boots to check his feet. Durandus regularly visited his brother. He raised the drakes for the Emperor's Dragon Legion. Fire, ice, and smoke drakes, mostly. "Smoke drakes?" Constantine questioned, unfamiliar with the creature. "Smaller black drakes that are too small to ride," Flavius explained. They have shiny dark gray-black scales with red glowing eyes. They breathe a dark, fiery cloud of black smoke. What? Cool. Malicious creatures that suffocate their prey to kill them. Sebastian only had a pair of them, but used them to hunt, relishing in the drake's manner of killing. I heard that Master Mage Sebastian was malicious, Constantine said. Flavius grunted in affirmation. He had a pack of dire wolves that he hunted with as well. Ooh. Mage Durandus joined him once when we hunted down a carriage with the Baron and his family that betrayed the Emperor. I tell the truth when I say Sebastian was smiling as his pets tore apart the man and his family. He took pleasure in their screams of pain. Yeah, I'm happy he's dead as well. No more words were spoken as they soon continued their run. Just before sunset, they arrived in familiar terrain. Constantine had them pause. The mage and his companion dropped their packs here when they ran. They should be around here somewhere. The two men circled the area and approved the ravine. Yes, this is a good ravine. See, I knew Eric. I feel like I said that I'm like, Eric, you shouldn't take those packs. Then again, maybe I didn't, but yeah. It's not surprising that it became an issue. The two men circled the area and approached the ravine. Did Eric take the packs? Flavius asked. No, maybe some goblins found them. Safe. But I do not see any tracks. Let's check down in the ravine. The summoner's companion was killed by Sebastian's drake down there, Constantine decided. Well, there was still enough light to see as the two experienced men searched the area. The prints of the large drake were easily identified. Dried blood on this rock. Eric said the drake bit and tossed the smaller elf into the rocks. It was a female, probably a ranger with some fire magic. His hand ran unconsciously up to his now healed face. Curious, there's no body or signs of it being eaten or dragged away by scavengers. Maybe the elf had a healing potion. Eric probably forgot to confirm the elf was dead, Flavius commented. Yeah, ha 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 ha. I was thinking the same thing. Eric still needs training, Constantine said. He was carefully moving dried leaves aside to look at prints underneath. The drake took to the air and only Eric left the ravine. But if the elf were a ranger, she would have concealed her tracks, he theorized. They had spent too much time investigating the ravine, and Constantine decided they would camp there for the night. They split their time on watch and were up at the first hint of sun, to go to the site where the wyvern and drake had battled. The wyvern lay at the edge of the pine forest, as Eric had described. The smell of death hung lightly in the air, growing stronger as they cautiously stepped closer. Both men were apprehensive about approaching the corpse of the gargantuan creature. They circled from a distance, and Flavius commented, I don't see any wounds on the creature. Eric said he used poison to kill it. Oblivion pills. Constantine grunted out. Oblivion pills? 4 or 5 can kill a man, but a wyvern? Flavius said skeptically. He said he used 100, Constantine reminded him, but his voice also sounded uncertain. He was having trouble imagining the wyvern, pausing over Eric to gloat while the summoner controlled the creature. They both found where Eric had lain after getting rammed by the wyvern, his dried blood evident in the earth and grass. Neither spoke as they read the terrain independently. Constantine finally said, Let's go and check the drake and see if the collector is there. Should be on the other side of that felled tree. And I saw Citra-san! Hello! It's been so long! Citra! My voice even died. Hello, I hope you are good. Thank you for stopping by. How nice. Hello. Happy to see you again. Hi. Yeah. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. When they reached the tree, the dead elf summoner had large maggots crawling all over his body. Eric killed the summoner, Flavius asked apprehensively, kneeling to inspect the body. He did not hesitate if that is what you are insinuating. I disabled him with an arrow, and Eric killed him before he could heal himself. Constantine noted Eric's prints around the site and a Legionnaire canteen. He picked up the empty Legion canteen and sniffed the contents, his face growing wide in surprise. Ah, because it's rum. Flavius looked up at his shock. Constantine smiled, shaking his head, handing him the canteen. Alcohol. Probably rum. I guess Eric had it in his dimensional space for a special occasion. He said it took him half a day to heal himself. He probably needed it to kill the pain, Constantine guessed. Oh, thank you! I will. Yes, I will. I will drink water. Flavius searched Elf and handed some folded papers to Constantine. Neither could read Elvish, so Constantine just secured them. Constantine muttered to himself about Eric's failure to find the documents. They both walked to the Drake. The throat had been ripped out, and the body was chewed on in many places. Coyotes, wolves, or another scavenger, Flavius noted. They're probably watching us as they are not done with it. They chose to scavenge this one rather than the wyvern, as the scales were probably too difficult to get through, Constantine thought. Maybe the poison Eric used scared them off the wyvern carcass as well. Flavius nodded in understanding. They started to work the Drake over to get the saddlebags underneath. As they worked, Flavius commented, I heard the poison barb on the wyvern's tail is most deadly poison, and they are immune to it. Do you really think even 100 Oblivion pills could kill a beast that size? Constantine grunted as he finally got the large saddlebag free. I don't know. Eric doesn't strike me as the type of person who thinks things through, but has Fortuna sitting on his shoulder even when he is taking a shit. Flavius smirked slightly, but erased the expression just as quickly as it appeared. Constantine was already digging through the pack and pulling out the collector. He had a big smile on his face, and it looked undamaged. Flavius took the pack and emptied the remaining items, going through the contents. Camping supplies, 2 spellbooks wrapped in oiled hide, and some coins. What should we do with these? He indicated everything on the ground. Constantine was packing the collector and looked over. Castile would have us split the coins, but still, we will give them to her first. She will probably want the magic books. Any essences? Flavius searched the pouch for the coins again. No, I guess he consumed them as he got them. I know he rarely rewarded his legionnaires with essences. I saw him give a few essences to his beast before, though. He kicked the mutilated fire drake. His collector is not very efficient, rarely yielding an essence from smaller creatures. I remember the 2 mage brothers arguing about it all the time when they were together. Sebastian is always envious of Durandus's dungeon collector, one of the best in the Empire. Strange how it disappeared. Flavius glanced sideways, judging Constantine's reaction, but he had none. Well, this is better than having no collector. We still need to retrieve the body. Both men looked over at the wyvern carcass. When they got closer, Flavius walked to the head and inspected it. Looks like a lot of blood dried and pooled here. Maybe from the mouth or nostrils. Can Oblivion pills do that? Oh my god, he is... Like, I understand that he's questioning it because it is bullshit. And I would also be like, what the fuck? But he doesn't have to point it out every time. Like, Flavius, you're annoying. I understand what you're trying to do here. Just calm down. Hello, Verbinton. Welcome. We're on the first chapter of the day. Today. Oh, I didn't know that I was fucking spammed. Okay. Yeah. Hello, welcome. Lots of poisons can destroy organs and cause bleeding, Constantine said offhandedly. I think I will ask an alchemist if oblivion pills can cause something like this, Flavius said contemplatively. He was studying Constantine for a reaction, but once again, Constantine did not seem concerned. I think that Constantine also is like, this is also bullshit, but he's not going to give that to Flavius. He's like, I can talk to Eric about this, or something. Constantine had his enchanted blade out, and was cutting into the throat of the dead wyvern. Grunting, he noted, Pity we did not have more men here to harvest this creature. It might have solved the Duchess's coin problems. Unlikely. This is the Emperor's land. She couldn't claim it, Flavius said. Constantine glanced at him sidelong. How many times has Sebastian not reported the facts about harvest and essences? Flavius huffed a short laugh and shrugged. Point taken. Mage commanders have always had a lot of leeway in the Empire. Some, not all, Constantine said tersely. Tersely? I don't know what that means. I've never seen this word. Tersely. Tersely. Constantine worked his blade from the chest to the abdomen. Working the blade between scales and cutting the hide was difficult work. He then had to fight through muscles and fascia to get to the organs. As Constantine worked, Flavius continued to explore around the creature. He saw movement on the edge of the woods and prepared his bow. Oh, Constantine, a few wolves are watching us. Don't think they will bother us. A few minutes later, the wolves were gone. I know wyvern hide is prized for leather bindings and books and cloaks. Should we take some? You can if you want to spend the time, Flavius. Go ahead. I am already not looking forward to carrying back Sebastian's body as it is. Constantine grumbled as he was arm deep in the abdominal cavity. Yay. The cold liver came out first, blood still flowing as it had not coagulated without access to air. This turned Constantine's arms, armor, and clothes red as he had to clear the massive liver away to reach the bloated stomach. Flavius did not volunteer to help as he was watching the tree line and was still trying to figure out exactly what had happened here that allowed Eric to escape. Constantine reached the stomach and cut into the rubbery lining, dodging as a squirt of stomach bile was expelled from his incision. He made more holes to drain the yellow bile and partially digested contents. The air smelled putrid as he held in his gag reflex. He avoided touching the bile and finally cut a long line from the top to the bottom. A small wave of compressed bones and flesh spewed out onto the ground, emptying the stomach as the lower abdomen cavity relaxed in a swoosh and hiss. The acidic air made Constantine's eyes water as he worked. Oh, fy fan. Flavius walked around to look at the mess. There was more than one body in the mess. That one with the dark blue robes is Sebastian. He really is dead. I would never have believed it if I had not seen it with my own eyes. The two men took to extracting the body from the mess. 2 children, a man, and half a horse were in partial phases of digestion mixed in the ball. Most of Sebastian's flesh and clothes sloughed off as they laid out the body. Constantine noted. The wyvern was attacking a village before it flew here. Guess these were some of the victims. Should we take the artifice items? Flavius asked, indicating Sebastian's body. He had 2 bright gold rings, one on each hand, and a thick silver necklace. These all looked like dungeon artifacts. They both knew if that was true, they would be worth hundreds of gold each, if not more. We will pack them for Castile. If they are registered with the Collegium Scholarium, they may come looking for them, Constantine said while removing the 3 pieces. What does that mean? Flavius asked, confused. Some powerful artifacts are documented with the Emperor's College. If you have no descendants or family, they become the property of the Emperor, Constantine informed Flavius. Part of the job of the hounds is to track down these artifacts for the good of the Empire. Constantine also knew sometimes the Empire made sure there were no descendants to pass an artifact to, either through misfortune or the courts not recognizing them as a relation to the artifact's previous owner. He cleaned off each ring and the necklace with water from his canteen and placed them in his pack. The last thing they had to do was prepare the body of Sebastian for transport. We should have brought the Goliath to carry the body back, Flavius said, not envying the task of carrying the dissolving corpse. Can I borrow your sword? I want a souvenir from the wyvern. Just a tooth. Constantine looked at his blade. He had just gotten it back and did not want to loan it to Flavius, but they had worked well together so far. Have they? I guess. He had also spoken more words today than in the entire past week. Well, that's true. He handed the runic weapon to Flavius. Flavius turned to work on the jaw. I wanted to let you know, Constantine, that Sebastian sent me to see if Eric had his brother's collector. No shit. Constantine was immediately on guard by the statement, but didn't show it. He stepped back half a step, pretending to work on preparing for the return. And, he asked, unconcerned. Doesn't matter now. The bastard is dead. But I think Eric has it, Flavius said as he was cutting into the gums. He's smart enough to know when not to use it, but it is the only thing that makes sense. Nothing in the swamp would have taken it. They searched his space when you were all questioned at the mage tribunal concerning Durandus' death, Constantine said cautiously. Yes, but Eric was not with us the entire time. When we would... Well, I had something in my eye. Ooh. Okay, so. Oi. Ah. There. Oops. Yes, but Eric was not with us the entire time. When we got back to the city, he went and took a bath, Flavius said, causing Constantine to chuckle at Eric's love of being clean. Flavius pressed. So he could have stashed it somewhere before and retreated after the tribunal. Does it matter if he has it now? Constantine asked seriously, but was considering a lot of things now. But Constantine already knew the collector was one of the artifacts that the College of Scholars would want back with both mage brothers dead. It was a collector made by a dungeon, much better than one's artificed by human hands. One that would have to be returned to the Emperor if no other family members claimed it. Flavius shrugged. No, I guess not. He got both hands on a large tooth and started wiggling it free with all his body weight. The tooth was 10 inches long, giving him leverage. Blood flowed from the mouth as he worked. It finally popped and started to move. It still took 20 minutes, and the help of the runic weapon to free the tooth. Flavius returned the runic blade, and Constantine relaxed his guard. It had been in the back of his mind that Flavius might use it on him. Sweaty and tired from the effort, Flavius sat on the ground inspecting his prize. I will send this to my daughter and tell her that her father slew a dragon, he said, smiling. Okay. Constantine nodded, but taking the credit for someone else's kill was something he would never do, right? Fucking bitch. The pair were soon headed back. Each of them had half of Sebastian's body on their backs, wrapped in an oil tarp. When the body reached the capital, Constantine knew that the Emperor would call on a necromancer to talk to the deceased Master Mage to confirm how he died. It should help High Mage Cinna if there were any doubts she played a role in his death. It's crazy, by the way, that you're gonna do that. As they jogged, Flavius pieced several things together. The wyvern had lunged at Legionnaire Eric and just died. It had crashed into him and tossed him a good distance after colliding with him. No poison killed instantly like that. That left only magic. He doubted Eric was a powerful mage in disguise. If he were a powerful mage, joining the Legion of the Lion wouldn't make any sense. That meant he must have a powerful artifact on him that killed the wyvern. With Sebastian dead, he had no one to relay his assumptions to. He looked at Constantine, who ran a few steps ahead to the left. Constantine worked for a Praetorian guard. Maybe he could use this information to get in the graces of his own Praetorian master. End of Book 2. Ooh! Ow! And, by the way, he means that he has one as well, right? Flavius is like, I also have a Praetorian master. Or does he mean that he will tell Constantine so that Constantine can tell his? Because it says of his own Praetorian master. So I'm like, what? Did we know that? I don't think we did we? I'm confused regardless. Hello, Makiek, welcome. You came in at the end of book 2, that is. That you will be here for the start of book 3. Eric's adventures continue. Draft book 3 completed on my Patreon. Hell yeah. Special thanks to my Patreon for supporting my writing on Patreon. You keep the words flowing and give excellent feedback. How cute. And here they all are. Maybe some of you are on here. Oh my god, so many. Oh wow, hello. Circo. Cool. Wow, okay, we did it. Book 2 complete. Now, book 3. Here we are, ready to go. A Soldier's Life, book 3. The Shimmering Labyrinth. Ooh. First edition, written by Always Rolls of One. Eric Timke. I have always butcher his name. Yeah. All parents, supporters, Royal Road. Thank you. It's self-published. No AI was used to make this book, to write it. Oh, okay, wait, maybe we'll zoom out a bit and look at these. We haven't seen the map in a while. Now we have color. Central continent of the world of Desia. Here we have the Italian Empire, the blue one. We know this. And then the Bardarians are the yellow one next to them. Essenhem, which is above, we've heard of. Tabardo. Tegairosia. I think I've mentioned this. The pink one. It has been mentioned, I think. Nausis, I do not know. Kingdom of Nausis, the blue tiny one. And then is Kingdom of Caesinia, the green one. Don't recognize that either. And I can't really see what it says there. We'll zoom in. Kingdom of Gorgifia. There is the Duchy of Tsingia, all right next to it. The tiny one. Yay! Gesedmuria. Kingdom of Gesedmuria. Don't know. Oh, there's a tiny one. Grand Duchy of Mancha. Ah, there's Mancha. Ah, okay. So we've been like in the north here. We've been the boom, 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 boom. Okay. And then we have the Duchy of Gongxiu. Grand Duchy of Xiunyuit. Hope we never go here. Kitiunia. And Principality of Linshania. Okay. Sure. And then there's just Buckle in the middle. Northern Italian Empire. Oh my god. We have the Salt Sea with Italian Empire. Neptune Spear. We've been here. It's so small text. I'm not gonna be able to see what it says. Lignium. Okay, but this is a map. Anyway, cool. Blah 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 blah. Don't want to see the names. No. Hello, why can it not? What? No, stop it. Oh. Ooh. Okay, ready. Book 3. Here we go. Chapter 122. Good Samaritan. As the company registered the disbelief of my presence, they came by to slap me on the back, none too gently, and congratulated me once again for a miraculous survival. I think the slaps were to make sure I was actually here and not an illusion. With the welcome done, I started eating breakfast in earnest. I was pretty sure First started whispering a new nickname for me around the table, the Revenant. He thought it was funny, but I did not. Constantine had called me a revenant before he almost attacked me. Brutus informed me that a revenant was an undead creature that rose from its grave to avenge itself. As the excitement of my return from the dead once again ebbed, Castile got everyone's attention. At this point, it is safe to say Fortuna is watching over Eric, and maybe he is her bastard son. Castile cracked a smile at her rare joke and nodded at me. We are going to need her guidance. We'll leave for the elven ruins of Caelora tomorrow, after Constantine and Flavius return. Matteo was the first to break his focus away from me. Isn't that the ruins we passed on that old road? The one filled with ghosts? Castile nodded solemnly. Spectres, not ghosts. We're going to explore the ruins and look for the entrance to a dungeon mentioned in the books that were recovered from the ruins a long time ago. Surprisingly, Benito asked a smart question. No, poor Benito. Would we get another dungeon discovery reward from the Adventurers Guild if we find it? Delmar stepped up next to Castile to answer. If we find it, yes, but most likely any reward would be delayed. The Duchess needs to use the information to barter with the Emperor to add the surrounding lands to her holdings, and the Emperor may wish to explore it before revealing it to the Adventurers Guild. We would also have to open the trade road. Firth groaned and showed agitation. We'll have to take care of that pack of direwolves then too. Delmar affirmed his assertion. Yes, the direwolves will need to be handled, but only after we confirm the dungeon exists and is viable. How are we going to kill the specters? Only Delmar and Constantine have runic weapons. Someone asked from the table far to my right. Castile could not contain her smile. The Duchess called in some favors. I have 20 runic arrows for Blaze, and 15 each for Pavel and Flavius. The Duchess has loaned Adrian a runic longsword, and I have 2 more to assign. I noted those 3 were the company's best archers, not including Constantine, so her allocation of arrows made sense. Adrian's why wouldn't she randomly give them to someone else? Like, you don't even know how to use a bow. Here, take the arrows. It's like, of course she... What? Adrian stepped forward. Those 2 additional blades will be wielded by the best swordsmen among you. Everyone started eyeing everyone else, trying to figure out who that would be. Should have gotten runic spears, Firth lamented loudly enough for everyone to hear. He was an excellent spearman, an average swordsman in the company. Adrian snapped at him. Well, we have our blades, Firth, and we are thankful for them. This evening, we will have everyone in the training grounds to contest for the 2 blades. Ooh! That got ripples of excitement from the table. Any type of competition was welcome, especially one with a reward at the end. We also have a kettle of souls, men. The fuck is that? It can supposedly permanently banish a spectre, so it cannot come back to hinder us again. Ooh. Castile added, emphatically, to encourage everyone. I did not think the men knew that the spectres regenerated over time. Being able to vanquish them permanently was a huge boon. Adrian announced to the growing fervor of conversation. You have the remainder of the day off. Rest and enjoy your time in the city. It may be a few weeks before we see the comforts of beds and the security of walls again. Firth added, at least walls that are not manned by spirits of the dead. His comedic delivery got laughs from everyone as they made their way out. The men typically laughed of impending danger, which made it seem unreal in some way. Yeah, right. Brutus came to talk with me. Can I buy the Revenant a drink in the city? I rolled my eyes and hoped this nickname disappeared as quickly as the last one had. We walked together to the establishment in the city that the other men favored. Brutus told me the ale tasted foul, but was strong, and the food was decent. As we entered, I noted it was also favored by all the city and citadel guards our men had been training. We found a table, and a woman came by, and Brutus said, 2 specials and 2 ales. He leaned into me eagerly. So, tell me how you escaped the dragon. Not much to tell. It was not a true dragon anyway, I paused. I was not going to tell Brutus I could heal. I was injured, but was lucky as the elven summoner Constantine had struck down had a healing potion. That reminded me that I had 3 elven potions that needed to be identified by the scholar. I was nearly killed but was able to heal. The wyvern was exhausted from fighting Sebastian. Sure. It just lost its train of thought in the fight and I prevailed. I smiled at the confused Brutus reinforcing bullshit story. He was expecting some hero's tale, but I was not a hero. We sipped ale, waiting for the food as I deflected Brutus's question about how I prevailed. Did Quentin have a family? I asked, after the legionnaire, who the hill giant had killed. Ah. It was an attempt to steer the conversation away from me. Brutus was clearly frustrated at my storytelling capabilities. Quentin? Brutus recalled him with a frown as he had been one of Durandus's men with Brutus. No. Well, no wife or kids. His parents owned a few sheep farms outside a city in the Western Empire. I think they were well off. He joined the Legion to learn to fight and serve the Emperor. Called it his duty. Death was commonplace, and besides an honoring of the dead, they were generally not discussed again among the men after falling in battle. The tantalizing aroma of the freshly baked small pie filled the air as it was brought out to our table. Brutus generously paid a large copper for both of us, and the pie turned out to be a delightful combination of fatty meat, carrots, rich gravy, all encased in a thick, flaky crust. The savory flavors captivated our senses, causing us to pause our conversation and fully savor the meal. After satisfying our hunger, I felt the urge to go for a ride, and as I made my way to the stables, Brutus continued to pepper me with a barrage of unanswered questions. Inside the stables, I was greeted by Ginger, who seemed visibly upset at my prolonged absence, her repeatedly pushing her head into my chest and nudging me backward, conveying her displeasure at being left for so long. Fine, girl, we can go out for a ride. After the ride, an apple is in your future. She snorted an affirmative, and I guessed she missed the apples more than me. I saddled Ginger, and Brutus laughed at me for talking to a horse. But really, I was trying to get away from him and his incessant questions. Giving up, Brutus patted Ginger's rump. Eric, have fun in your ride. I will see you tonight when I gain ownership of one of the runic blades. Brutus smirked as he left. Brutus was one of the best spearmen in the company, but had also trained with swords growing up. If I was allowed to use air shields, I thought I might have a good chance of claiming one of the blades. I made my way out of the citadel and then the city. The countryside was dotted with dozens of campsites made up of wagons and improvised shelters. The Duchess bit off more than she could chew when she opened her arms to all these refugees. It might not have been so bad if food was not going to be very scarce soon. I was taking a path through the tents to get into the woods, planning to let Ginger run for a while. The closer I get to the people, the more terrible things looked for them. There was a cart from the city, and I could see 2 citadel guards and some of the servants handing out food. Larine was not among them. Right, I forgot about Larine. Right now, hunger was not a problem. When food became an issue, things would become less safe for the people. I entered the woods and started into a gallop, and Ginger responded immediately, understanding she was free to go as fast as she wanted. I got my body in sync with hers as she sprinted through the woods, skirting up the soft ground. The cold early morning air felt good on my face as I raced past surprised foragers. She lasted almost 5 minutes at a sprint before easing off and panting hard. I patted her neck as she came to a stop, and I dismounted to give her the promised apple. A few people nearby stared at us. I saw some viable bloodgrass and was considering harvesting it when a voice far off to my left asked, "Legionnaire, is that you? The one from the baths in Matcha?" What? I turned to find a dirty young woman with a basket filled with tubers. 2 other young women stood just behind her, just as dirty from digging in the dirt. It took me a moment to remember the face. "Karina?" I asked, finally recognizing the young woman from the matcha baths. "It is you," she said, surprised and with a weak smile forming. "Well, I heard about matcha falling and the city walls crumbling," I said consolingly. "Did your brother make it out alive?" I asked, remembering her brother was a member of the city guard. Her dirty smile fell from her face, and tears started to swell up. "Oh, I guess not. I'm sorry that I asked. You made it to a safe city. The Duchess is a good woman." Her throat was a little tight as she spoke. "The Duchess is kind, but there is not much work for a bath girl in the city." She tried to laugh, but I could tell things were not going well for her. She looked thinner than I remembered, and her clothes were soiled from digging. She indicated her two companions. All worked in the baths. Now we try to supplement the food allocation from the woods, but are having to venture further and further from the city. It is dangerous, and we are worried about the other foragers and monsters. I went to Ginger and pretended to root around in the empty saddlebags. I pulled out a 10-pound block of hard cheese and a large jar of berry preserves from my dimensional space. I walked back to the three women. Here, you can have these supplies. They were for the wardens, but I can get more. I know a few people in the city, and I might be able to find you some work. The three young women had wide eyes as I handed Karina the food. Karina dropped her basket and juggled the two heavy foodstuffs. Where can I find you if I find you some work? Karina was at a loss for words, so one of the thin young women behind her volunteered the information. There are 3 wagons forming a triangle outside the east gate of Sobrel. We are sharing the blue-painted wagon there. I nodded to her and mounted Ginger. As I rode away, I mumbled something Adrian told me. You can't say it for everyone, Eric. I knew I would still try, though. I thought about finding them a job in the Citadel, as that seemed the safest place. Then I remembered how the Duchess used her servants. Not that I objected too hard to Lorene seducing me. I rode further into the woods, letting Ginger stretch her legs, and started harvesting mushrooms and flora as I thought about how to help. Then I realized I knew one job that might help Karina. The 2 old women herbalists, right, those 2. Lila and Rhea had offered to buy me my axes harvest. I had yet to return them since our first meeting, but Karina and her 2 friends might be able to forage for them. I spent until midday harvesting an assortment of different plants. Mushrooms were scarce, and bloodgrass and most of the other flora were starting to wilt from the colder nights. I still returned to the city with a sizable harvest and visited the 2 old women. Look who decided to return, Rhea, Lila said as I entered their small herbalist shop. The mixture of sharp herbal scents hit me. I bowed. I have been kept busy by my mage commander, but I missed your wit and charm. If you are here to sell, you are going to be disappointed with what we can offer. We are just interested in the edibles, Rhea said sorrowfully. I still placed everything I had found from my morning. They only want edibles. Damn, they're crazy. I still placed everything I had found from my morning's work on the counter while Lila sorted through it, and Rhea dealt with a middle-aged male customer. When she finished, she looked up. 3 silver, 50 copper. Best we can do at the moment. Plenty of others are coming in to sell, and we cannot process what we have. Rhea joined Lila as the customer bought a tincture and left. I nodded, thinking. What if I could find you some help? I know some of the refugees. Good people. Rhea perked up. Experienced herbalist? She asked, interested. I grimaced slightly. No, you would have to train them. Not interested then, Rhea said with a dismissive wave. Food is scarce and coin tighter. We wouldn't be able to feed them, only pay them a pittance. And with the coming snow, things are going to get worse. Prices have already doubled and will double again before too long. What if I could give you some food? Not from the Duchess, but some Legion stores I have access to. It is not a lot. Maybe a month's worth for the 3 women. I will also pay for their housing inside your shop. It's a silver a week for each fare. The shop had a 2nd floor, so I assumed multiple rooms were up there. 3? Lila barked a laugh. You're keeping 3 women satisfied. You should have come to us, boy. There are 2 of us, and we know things they don't. Oh my god, these 2. She chuckled, and I smiled weakly, trying not to form any mental images. Oh my god. I ignored Layla's comment and pressed forward. I wanted to close the deal. Is it a pack then? 3 apprentices. A month's worth of food and 2 gold coins to train them for a year. Rhea seemed to be the decision maker, holding up her hand to make me pause. She thought and spoke slowly. No. The coin would cover housing your women. Your women. But a month's worth of food is not enough. In a month, it is going to take more than a silver a week to feed a single person. Getting through winter to spring is going to be hard. I did not have a shortage of coins, so I offered. 6 gold for the year, then. They are all young and eager and will be able to forage and harvest for you in the local woods. Young and eager? Lila smirked salaciously at me. I ignored the insinuation. The 2 old herbalist sisters got together and discussed the proposition privately. I waited patiently for their decision. Ria finally turned around. The three of them will have to share a room upstairs. They will not be paid, but we will feed and house them for the next year and teach them what we know. The cost is 6 gold and whatever food you can offer to help Eric. No further compromise, as we will likely be training our future competition in the city. I smiled in victory. So you did remember my name. Can I give you a little extra? I would hate for the women not to have any money to buy clothes. Lila's aged face returned a smile. Your name was kicking around in here. She tapped her temple. What investment do you have in these women? She asked curiously and maybe slightly suggestively. I went with the truth. I met one of them in Matcha. The other two, I don't even know their names. I found them in the woods foraging this morning and figured I could help. The two sisters looked at each other, unspoken words passing between them. You are a strange one, Eric. We agreed to your terms. Yay! The sisters left an hour later as we wrote out a contract of sorts for them and the 3 women. I gave them 8 gold, mostly in silver, to take all 3 young women on as apprentices. They would be fed, housed, and paid 1 silver weekly for the following year. After securing the small fortune of coin, both old women left their shop to go to the blue wagon and make them the offer. I was supposed to wait in the shop for them to return. Instead, as soon as they left, I emptied my dimensional space of most of the food. 3 jars of berry preserves, a bag of onions, 30 pounds of flour, 20 pounds of sugar, 4 jars of yeast, 2 casks of pickles, 9 massive salami links, 1 block of hard cheese, 2 large bags of dried mushrooms, and 2 large bags of potatoes. I decided to keep the honey in my remaining ration bars. What the fuck? Like, I remember once that he was like, I'll take this food that's here, but my god. Ugh. I nodded as the foodstuff pile looked like enough to feed a few people for a month. I left before the sisters returned, locking the door behind me. I did not need the adulation. I was just happy to know my coin was helped some have fuck. Oh. I nodded as the foodstuff pile looked like enough to feed a few people for a month. I left before the sisters returned, locking the door behind me. I did not need the adulation. I was just happy to know my coin had helped some people. I was at the stables in the citadel and unsaddling Ginger. The stable boys were not here, which surprised me. A pair of guards walked by outside on the patrol, and I asked, Where are the stable boys? They are probably in the citadel courtyard with everyone else. Your Legion company is holding a fighting competition, he replied before continuing to walk on his patrol with his partner. Did the contest for the runic blade start already? I rushed through Ginger's rubdown and fed her before hurrying into the courtyard. I thought I had a decent chance of winning one of the 2 blades for myself. Oh, okay. Here we go. Jump right into it. Chapter 123. Contested Blades. I made my way to the central courtyard and found an elaborate setup. The central square of the fading gardens had been set with a thin layer of sand and sawdust. Over 100 spectators stood to watch on one side of the square. Most of the spectators were workers in the citadel, and I recognized a number of faces among them. A slightly raised wooden platform was along another edge of the square. The platform had a number of occupied seats. Castile was seated next to Duchess Veronica in the center, and a frown creased both their faces. They did not look happy to be there, to say the least. A woman in a gaudy gown sat next to the Duchess, who I assumed was the Countess, Duchess Veronica's mother. Right, we still haven't seen the mother and the brother. On the other side of the Countess was a lead man who looked to be in his early 30s. He had a smug look and seemed happy to be watching the entertainment. Several Citadel attendants served the VIPs on the makeshift spectator stage. Among their number was Lorene, standing behind the man. On the third side of the square, the men of the company were getting ready for combat. As I joined them, Mayviet was in the back, and I asked him, Mayviet, where have you been all day? Mayviet looked surprised to see me. Eric, Castile accepted me as a huntsman for the company. He was beaming with pride. I went to my cabin to get some things and secured it from the elements and intruders while I was away. I told Trek to check on it occasionally as well. I just got back to find this. He indicated the makeshift fighting square. Mavieth, what is with all the formality? I thought we were not going to do this until after dinner. I indicated the elaborate setup. Adrian turned and walked to me to answer the question. His tone was sour. First Citizen Boris learned about the competition and set this up. He got the Duchess to force Castile to agree to it. Eric, are you going to compete? At least I knew why Castile did not look happy. Yes, of course. Isn't everyone? I asked, noticing Lorene bringing a tray of food for First Citizen Boris. He leaned back and they whispered to each other. Oh, Eric is pissed. Eric's gonna kill someone. So far, just 10 men are interested in the blades, Adrian informed me, which made sense. For instance, Blaze and Pable would not want to engage in melee as they were being given runic arrows. I noticed Lorene pointing incautiously at me while whispering to Boris. So which one of these did you fuck, maid? This one. Oh. A chill went through me. Oh, Lorene, what are you doing? And who had the dream amulet? I with him. Oh, perfect. Adrian had a piece of paper in his hand, scribbled with brackets. You will fight Colm in the first pairings. I looked and saw Colm stretching. He was the company's ad hoc blacksmith, and repaired our resin hide armor as well. He was short, but his biceps matched his thighs. He was one of the company's shieldmen, and I do not remember him practicing often with the sword. His skill should be inferior to mine, but I would not underestimate him. Can I use my air shields when I fight? I asked Adrian. Yes, any spell forms are allowed, though you will be the only one. That's unfair. His tone indicated I should perhaps forgo them if possible. The first citizen wants the men to fight bare-chested for the entertainment spectacle. Oh my god. Adrian said unhappily. The old healer is in the crowd if anyone gets injured, but control your enthusiasm as you do not want anyone seriously injured. The first pairings will start soon. Adrian walked away to continue organizing the mini-tourney. I walked over to Colm and watched Boris subtly as I talked to my opponent. Boris' eyes were definitely following me. Colm, it looks like we are paired off in the first round, I said with a smile. Harpy's tits, really? Why does Adrian hate me? He said dejectedly. You're one of the favorites, Colm admitted sourly. I never understood that curse. Who are the other favorites? I asked the miserable-looking Colm. Earth was quick to chime in. Harpy's tits, Eric. You know, they look like a regular woman's breast, but then the rest of the creature is hideous and trying to kill you. And Brutus and I are favorites. He said with a grin. Finally, we're getting it. Because I've been thinking about it every time, but I'm like, whatever, you know? But now we have, okay, I guess it makes sense. Thank you, Firth. They have been practicing out here all day, Colm told me. Firth and Brutus were spearmen in the company. So I was shocked they were favorites in the sword competition. Then again, our 3 best swordsmen in the company already had runic weapons. Constantine, Adrian, and Delmar. Benito came up behind me. Eric, heard you were fighting. The cost is 10 silver. My confused face had Benito explain. Winner take all. Runic sword and the silver. I handed Benito the 10 silver and realized the man was a gambling addict. It was Benito, not Adrian, who established this surprise purse. Well. Hello, Cade. I will drink. Welcome. We're in book 3 now. Yay! I returned to stand with Mavieth as the first pairing was called to fight 30 minutes later after more spectators and refreshments arrived. Brutus was against Felix, both legionnaires entering the ring in just their canvas pants and boots. Their muscled torsos held a shield and weighted wooden practice swords. Their bare feet stirred the sand as they walked. Matteo was close, and I overheard him say, The sand and sawdust are so our blood does not stain the stones of the courtyard, just like in the Colosseum. Wow. The spectators started making some noise as the 2 men engaged. My focus was on the first citizen Boris, as he frequently asked Loreen questions, and his eyes drifted to me instead of the fight he orchestrated for his entertainment. He seemed anxious for a reason I could not fathom. As the fight started, it was less than a minute before Felix was laying unconscious on the sand. The old healer moved to check on him, and healed him enough to wake him. The next fight was between Benito and Mateo. I had not followed the fight and was shocked when I looked up to find Benito had won. Mateo was a decent swordsman and was heavily favored, but Benito was a shifty little guy. Eric and Colm, Adrian announced the next fight. As I moved my armor to get stripped down to my canvas pants for my duel, I noticed First Citizen Boris studying me intently, and he frowned as I exposed myself. I fumed as I guessed he noticed I was not wearing the Dreamscape amulet. That was probably why he wanted us to fight bare-chested. It also meant Loreen had betrayed me and told the First Citizen I had the artifact. Or maybe she just told what a hot six-pack you have and Boris is really interested in you. He's like, so which one did you say? Maybe Boris is just hella interested. Fuck, you don't know. I moved to the sand with Colm. His pale, bare chest had curly blonde hair, while his head and beard were deep black. It made him look odd. His jaw clenched, not looking... Oh my god, I need to redo this. I'm butchering these sentences right now. Holy. I moved to the sand with Colm. His pale, bare chest had curly blonde hair, while his head and beard were deep black. It made him look odd. His jaw clenched, not liking his pairing with me. We both tapped our wooden swords on our shields to let each other know we were ready. Colm had a strong base but moved poorly. He was used to carrying a body shield. I circled to the left, trying to cross him up. He was prepared to turtle with a much smaller shield than he normally fought with and take opportunity attacks. He was prepared to turtle. That sounds like I immediately understood what it meant, but I've never heard it before. That's so cute. As he got anxious, I moved in fast and deflected his swing on my shield. Colm had planned to use my block to surprise me with a low swing. I surprised him by stabbing him and spinning away. My wooden sword point connected where his heart was, leaving a bloody welt. Colm's sword swung through the empty air, and he winced from the pain of my strike. Killing blow, Adrian determined, and Colm threw his shield and sword away in disgust at the short fight. Oh no. The Citadel workers clapped and cheered my quick victory. I looked to the platform to find Castile nodding appreciatively, and Boris' eyes narrowed. Loreen held a pitcher and glass, but was beaming happily at my victory. I think the Countess looked surprised and licked her lips, studying me. Oh my god, what is happening? I went to Colm and put my arm around him as he got the touch of healing. I spent a few moments telling him what he did wrong and promising to help him work on it if he wished to. He had basically telegraphed his entire attack. Benito and Eric, Adrian announced the next match. I guess I would not be allowed any time to rest. Not that my first victory took long. Wow, poor Colm. And then he gets the arm around and is like, you know, this is everything you did wrong, but I can help you. It's like, shut the fuck up, Eric. Don't be mean to him. I moved back to the sand and faced off against a much smaller Benito. Benito was fast, but made a lot of mistakes in our one-on-one fights in practice. At least, that was my experience from all the times the company trained together. He was an excellent man to have on your side in a fight, though. Benito grinned madly and spun his sword in his hand. He was trying to show off to the crowd. We both tapped shields and engaged. I'm just like, if he loses, it's even more funny that he's like, show off. As I protected my legs, I was cautious, figuring he would target my knee to slow me. We clashed and tested each other. Our speed actually matched well, but I was definitely faster than I was a few weeks ago. Benito was quickly frustrated, as I was cautious and did not give him an opening to exploit. Benito suddenly overextended, and I slashed the wrist of his sword hand, breaking his wrist and causing him to drop his wooden sword. It would have saved him serious injury if he had been wearing his vambraces. Benito stepped back and cursed under his breath. He dropped his shield and walked to the healer, disgusted with his own evasion. I think he thought he would win the coin and runic blade. He certainly did not lack confidence. I looked at Adrian, smirking. Am I going to have to fight again, or can I get a rest? You do not get a rest in battle, he replied with his own smile. Shut up. The company chastised me with jeers, as well as at my complaints. Adrian announced the next pairing with a smirk. Brutus and Remus. Is it Remus? Probably Remus, not Remus. Maybe, I don't know, Remus. Remus was the only man from Gregor's company left. His bright, long red hair made him stand out from the others when our helms were off. As the two engaged, it was clear the two were familiar with each other, and it was no contest. Brutus was an excellent swordsman, as he had been practicing since his youth. It took a few minutes, but he disarmed Remus by getting a strike on his fingers and breaking a few. He followed it with a blow to the ribs, and Adrian announced immediately. Debilitating injury. Brutus wins. The old healer would be limited in how much healing he could do today, and it was clear Adrian didn't want any cripples or to waste potions. Brutus raised his hands in victory, like a gladiator, and there were a lot of cheering from the Citadel workers. I noticed Loreen had not cheered at either of my victories, but smiled appreciatively. I was a little envious that the spectators had not cheered as loudly for me, except the stable boys, but I had bought that idolization. I rested and sipped water while watching and waiting for my next call. We were putting on a good show for the Citadel workers. Castile Cid looked unhappy, but the 3 first citizens were content with the pre-dinner entertainment we provided. We were not trying to be fancy in our fighting, as winning was more important than giving them a show. I mean, for some. Speak to yourself. And you wanted the shears, dude. The company men did not care about their happiness. Fighting without armor was not something we practiced, so it was expected that we would make mistakes and risk greater injury. As they happened, I studied the other fights, and soon we were down to just 4. Firth, Brutus, Soren, and myself. Soren was one of the quiet ones in the company. Rumor had it he had killed a baker for selling him moldy bread. I doubted that was true, as I had never seen the man go into a rage before. Brutus and Soren, Adrian announced. Firth moved to stand next to me. Looks like we are paired next, Eric. I will go easy on you and not make you look too bad. If you drop me 2 gold, I will even let you win, he said with a smirk, holding out his hand. I was pretty sure even if I paid him the 2 gold, he would go all out and then make an excuse if he bested me. I can't help that you're so trash, Eric. For 20 gold, I will let you win, paid up front though. I returned with my own offering and grinned, knowing he wouldn't accept. Firth walked away smiling and confident, with no gold exchanged between us. I knew he served a Praetorian Guard, and maybe he was more skilled than he was showing. After all, his job was to eliminate Castile if she did anything against the Empire's intersects. Okay, now we have this, black and white. Firth is the one with the Praetorian Guard, but Flavius mentioned in the last chapter of the book 2 that he has a Praetorian Guard. I think, to me, that's what it said. That Flavius was like, maybe I will tell my Praetorian Guard. Or that he meant that he was going to tell Constantine so Constantine can tell his. I'm a little bit confused at that, but now I at least can stop thinking about who it was that we knew had a Praetorian Guard. It was Firth. I always forget because they both have similar names. Similar letters in their names. Okay, good. Now I'm happy at least. I will try to remember. Brutus won his fight against Soren, but was not guaranteed a runic blade. Adrian contradicted my thought when he announced, Congratulations, Brutus. One of the blades is yours. You will still need to fight the winner of Firth and Eric in order to determine who picks first. Adrian roared the crowd and waved his hands as he got into the event spirit. The only issue was the healer seemed to be out of ether after healing Soren. I stood across from Firth on the sand. His eyes were hard and focused on me. I could tell Firth was planning to go all out. I thought about using the air shield in the fight. I had not needed it so far, but I had a feeling Firth was hiding his true ability. We tapped shields and circled. I tuned out the crowd and took in Firth's movements. The caution in his steps betrayed his skill. It reminded me of Xavier, the swordsmaster. He was trying to show as little as possible, but there were still hints. Firth, the brothel-loving legionnaire, was more than he seemed. He flashed forward, and I defended and countered with my shield. I heard someone in the company mutter that Firth was faster than normal today, and I thought the same thing. He continued to press, and I was hard pressed to block and parry. He finally stepped back after nearly a minute, breathing heavily. Eric, you have gotten much better. This should have been over by now. I could see his heavy eyes and guessed maybe he had used a spell form. I was guessing by the familiar, exhausted look I got from using all my ether. It was a weak spell form, if that was what it was, and he had almost no ether to sustain it if he was already out. Firth saluted me with his sword. I concede the duel to Eric. Adrian said that if Eric uses the air shield, he will be the only one who uses a spell form. So now Eric assumes that Firth has one, which I definitely think he does, especially if he serves a Praetorian Guard. But no one else knows about it then. At least not Adrian. So many with secrets. So many secrets. To the disappointment of the crowd and Boris in particular, Firth walked off of the sand. I thought it was a very even match, perhaps even slightly tilted in Firth's favor with his enhanced movement. Whatever he did to elevate himself had drained him considerably, and he chose to concede rather than lose in front of everyone. Or maybe he had used his one trick or did not want to show more. I was clearly not the only man in the company with secrets. Yeah, exactly. I like it. Adrian seemed puzzled and shocked as well. I walked off the sand to stand by Mavieth, even though the next fight was mine. Benito moved close. Eric, that was impressive. I don't feel as useless as tits on a Minotaur now for losing to you. Tits on a Minotaur? Benito, what? Mavieth intoned, trying to educate Benito. There are female Minotaurs with functional breasts, Benito. Mavieth! Matteo, who was nearby, asked, how does Minotaur milk taste? Is it the same as cow's milk? How do you get it? I got a lot of chuckles from the men, but others were straining to hear as well. There was a small commotion on the stage as the two blades were brought out and placed at the feet of Duchess Veronica. Adrian called us forward. Brutus and Eric, come forward and look upon your blade choices. The Citadel workers were crowding and craning their necks to see. I walked with Brutus and looked upon the two long swords. Each blade was about 33 inches with a hilt of 7 inches. They were just borrowing these, right? I think they said they were like, they're not actually getting them. Like, that would be insane as well if they just like, here you go. Nah, it's just borrows. We'll see if we get to keep it or not. Both blades had runic markings, but one was tarnished black and had small pitted marks on it. The other blade was polished steel and ancient looking. Duchess Veronica smiled down at both of us. 2 blades from my mother's family guards. They have been loaned to me by my mother's grace. The last runic smith of the Italian Empire forged a dark blade for its intended purpose. It has fought in hundreds of battles and served its wielders well. The orcs of the Bauten Calipet forged the other blade. It was claimed in battle by my grandfather from a tattooed elite orc warrior. Brutus caught the same thing in the explanation that I did. He asked, after the expedition to the Elven ruins, the blades must be returned. The Duchess smiled. Yes, unless you wish to enter my service. In that case, you can keep the blade and wield it to defend me. Brutus frowned as he felt he had been scammed. I looked at Castile. She looked like she had already been aware of the condition. But didn't they already say that? Or what? I knew. Or I just said, like, because they were just borrowed, right? Like, she said, like, oh, we got borrowed stuff. Like, that's what Castile said to everyone. I swear to God. If she didn't, then it's insane. Okay. Adrian interrupted her dismay as not being able to retain the blades after the expedition. Eric and Brutus moved to the center and prepared to fight. As I moved onto the sand, I figured it made sense as a dungeon-forged runic blade was worth 1,000 gold, according to Delmar. Although the 2 blades we were fighting for were not nearly as immaculate as Delmar's or Constantine's, and probably had less value. Delmar's had come from a dungeon, and an elven runic smith forged Constantine's. Brutus still seemed determined to win, even though the prize was temporary. We tapped shields, and Brutus engaged with vigor. We danced and kicked up sands as swords clattered on shields at a rapid tempo. The men of the company cheered us both as we circled. "You are better than I remember," Brutus said, after I intercepted 3 quick successive attacks. "Maybe you're just getting slow in your old age," I countered with a smile. "I'm younger than you," he barked, annoyed, as he launched into a series that was familiar to me from my time with Xavier, and I dodged and backed away, letting him expend his energy in futility. I could see the consternation and frustration building on his face. I still had not even used an air shield yet. I was beginning to think my dreamscape practice was more effective than my practice in the real world, and planned to add today's fighting insights the next time I entered. Brutus was better with the shield than I was. I was learning a lot by how his minimal movements prevented me from taking advantage of his openings. The fight was the most protracted of the evening, and the crowd loved it, and I was feeding off the growling noise. Brutus tried a trick that ended the fight. He tried to hook the corner of his shield on mine and pull it away to expose me. I had experienced this same act in my dreamscape from Constantine, so when I noticed his shield caught mine and tugged on my arm for what it was, I used it against him, creating my own opening. My swing was powerful and directed at his knee. Brutus realized it and tried to turn away from the strike to lessen the impact. I still connected, just not as solidly. "Debilitating injury," Adrian called immediately, ending the fight. Adrian was concerned about ensuring everyone was healthy before we left, as the healer was exhausted. Dude, he said this every time now. I know. Brutus limped away and had trouble putting weight in the leg. I think it had shattered his patella, and he would require healing. I made sure Brutus was fine, but he was angry about losing. The healer needed a few hours before he could heal him, but Brutus assured me he would be fine. That was a quick counter, Eric. I did not see it coming. A well-deserved victory. He clapped me on the back, congratulating me and using me for assistance to stand. "You should go and choose your blade, as the first citizens do not look happy to be kept waiting." Silence spread in the crowd as I walked to the platform and inspected the 2 blades again, under the gaze of the Duchess, her family, and Castile. I picked up the tarnished blade and tested its weight. Then I did the same for the other one. The black blade was slightly heavier and appeared to have a better edge, even with the odd pitting aging on its length. "I will take this one," I indicated the darker blade. The Duchess' eyebrows went up in surprise, as it was probably the lesser of the 2 artifacts. First Citizen Boris drew attention to himself by clapping loudly. "Good display of skills, Legionnaire. I want to test myself against the best swordsman today. I am sure Mage Castile will give me the honor to exercise this evening's winner in front of the assembled crowd." Oh. Okay. Oh, okay. The shaft is just boom, boom, now. Chapter 124. A woman cannot keep a secret. Noreen. Boris had challenged me in front of everyone. I looked at Castile, who had been uncomfortable with the whole display, and now she even wore an angry frown. I looked back at Adrian and Delmar, and neither offered me help dealing with the First Citizen. First Citizen Boris had the unmistakable smile of someone who thought they were better than you. He walked out onto the sand while I sheathed my new black blade. Boris spoke again. "That sword you claimed is a family heirloom. The first captains of our Citadel Guard wielded it for centuries. My grandfather told me it was a gift from a 3rd emperor to his great-grandfather." I felt this was a setup, and I was waiting for him to get to his point. "I will keep it safe and return it after our exploration of the Elven ruins," I said cautiously. He smiled like a snake oil salesman. "Perhaps while you have my family's blade in your care, I can hold something of yours in case you do not return." And there it was. I looked at Castile, who had a dark look on her face directed at Boris. Loreen was conveniently behind one of the oversized chairs on the stage, and her back was turned to me. I looked for any support or clue on what to do. Duchess Veronica spoke. "I gave Mother a fair price for the blade, Boris. It is not yours to barter with." Boris ground his teeth at his sister's remark, and having his dialogue interrupted. Fine. I still wish to practice with the Legionnaire. Perhaps he would care for a bet on the outcome. Something of equal value to this. I sensed this first citizen was not too bright as he made things up after his original plan failed. He drew his sword. The blade reminded me of Delmar's dungeon forge blade. The blade shimmered in the light of the fading sun, appearing to ripple like water. Hello, Shane! Welcome, welcome! Welcome. Boris's mother, Countess Angela, barked. Boris? No. Her voice was laced with anger. He has nothing of worth to match it, and that blade is still mine until you take my seat as count. Her rage seemed genuine, so I did not sense she was party to his sham. But he does, mother. This legionnaire has a dreamscape amulet, he announced to everyone present. Oh my god. Oh. You fucking asshole, I swear to God. Oh. Well, I wonder what Eric is gonna say. Yes, I mean, because Lorene has already seen it, but who will fucking believe, like, Lorene, not to be like that, but in this world, Lorene is just a maid. Like, she's nothing. Like, like, no, she's not nothing. She's higher up than many people. But, like, she can, I don't know. They can have a truth seeker ask her if anything, but why would they care about that now? Like, oh, I can't with this. I don't remember where he got the amulet from. The dungeon reward, right? That's what it was. I was like, did it take it from someone? No, it was the dungeon reward. Fan alltså. Fuck you, Boris, you suck ass. I heard Benito ask someone loudly, what is a dreamscape amulet? My eyes were focused on Castile, whose eyebrows showed surprise as she locked eyes on me in question. Lorene was now missing from the stage entirely, hiding from my irate gaze. Fuck Lorene, dude. Fuck Lorene. Whispers started running through the crowd, trying to figure out what a dreamscape amulet was. My companion seemed just as perplexed as the unfolding events. Boris's grin split his face at the commotion he had caused, thinking he had scored a victory. The Countess was weighing something in her mind. Boris spun in a circle as he spoke so everyone could hear him, like a showman at a circus. As I told you last night, Mother, a dreamscape amulet is a dungeon artifact allowing you to control your dreams. You can practice with swords, read a book, fight monsters, or fuck every woman you ever met in whatever manner pleases you. Oh my god. Boris, did you tell Lorene this? And Lorene's like, what? He did that? Oh my god. Okay, he has one. No, because she has to tell him first. Oh, fuck her in either case, dude. Fuck, I'm so angry. The Countess finished her internal deliberations and gave him a small nod to approve the best. I refuse, I stated flatly. The duel and the wager. I turned my back on Boris and walked back to the company. My companion seemed half curious about the amulet and smirked at my dismissal of the first citizen. Matteo intercepted me and asked as I reached the group, where did you find a dreamscape amulet, Eric? Sounds like it would be, educational. Can I try it? Behind me, Boris had not given up and turned his attention to the platform. Mage Castile, surely you would not deny me a friendly contest and wager? I wish to fight today's champion. Shut the fuck up. Castile grimaced. I knew she hated dealing with first citizens and did not hide this fact on her face as she stood. Castile walked off the stage and passed the haughty Boris to join the company. She came straight at me and walked past me, and I moved to join her to talk privately. Do you really have it? A dreamscape amulet? Oh my god. I cursed Lorene internally. I considered my reply for just a moment and admitted, yes. No, dude, everything is coming up. Holy shit. Interesting, she said, considering it and with no evident anger. That is how you have been studying and learning your spell form so quickly. Did you steal it from Durandus or take it from a corpse of one of the Barbaradians? She questioned thoughtfully. No, I had it before Matcha, I replied quietly. Castile nodded slowly, her mind thinking, working. Then it is your possession. Unless... the dungeon. Castile was too smart for her own good. I nodded subtly, then not denying it. Yes, you did say I could keep whatever was in the dungeon chest, I said with just the slightest smirk. She did? She coughed, seemingly amused. She shook her head in disbelief while in consideration. Well, do not tell anyone you took it from a dungeon while in my mage company. The Empire has the right of purchase, especially from a legionnaire conscript. And what the fuck is he gonna say? She looked at the smug Boris, waiting impatiently. He cannot force you to fight. As a first citizen, he could try to force you to sell it to him, but I doubt he has enough gold to buy it if it is genuine. She thought momentarily. Veronica told me a little about her older brother Boris. He is spiteful. If he can't get the amulet, he will spread the word you have it to others to ensure you cannot retain it. Castile, what should I do? I sought her advice in a pleading tone. I was not giving the first citizen prick my amulet. Castile looked over her shoulder at Boris, who was playing up the small crowd. Do you think you can win? You have improved greatly, but Boris is an accomplished swordsman. He practices 3 hours every morning in the courtyard and has fought in dozens of competitions. Can I use my spell form? Does he have a spell form? I asked quietly. He does. Veronica said he can harden his skin and slightly enhance his strength. Oh. He is no mage, of that I'm sure, she informed me. Then yes, I can win, I replied confidently. I'm just gonna put him into my space. Ha, bitch! Lorene did not know I had the air shield, so that meant Boris did not know either. You will be making an enemy, and he will cause trouble if he is able just to spite you, she cautioned. Your amulet is no longer a secret either. That secret is out now. I shrugged, as the whole company knew now about the artifact, not that I was planning to let them use it. I will talk with the first citizens with your permission to get everything formalized. Castile waited till I nodded. What, formalize? She went to the platform and the Duchess, Countess and Boris convened with Castile. Boris was confident as he waved his hand to rush the conversation. He had watched me fight and probably thought he had a good measure of my ability. Little did he know how little I had shown. Oh, okay. Writing things out formally at Castile's insistence took almost 20 minutes. After that, we both had to sign the agreement, making everything official and legal. Castile finally announced the duel, with the Duchess holding the parchment to the conditions. The crowd's anticipation was about to be quenched as Castile spoke. First Citizen Boris Angela and Legionnaire Eric Marco have agreed to a duel. They will be fighting with steel blades. The first person incapacitated or yielding will be deemed the loser. The winner will claim ownership of both prizes. Castile smirked. Duchess Veronica will hold the prizes during the contest. Boris turned his head abruptly, realizing he would not be fighting with his runic weapon. Castile had outmaneuvered the not-so-bright Boris. It also meant I needed to take the amulet out of my space and hand it over to the Duchess. Boris agreed after a short argument before sending a runner for another weapon. I walked and reluctantly handed the amulet to Castile, who brought it to the Duchess, who started studying the artifact intently while we waited. I was worried she might try to use it, but she did not fall asleep in her chair before placing it down. So this means that technically Eric is allowed to use the runic weapon he just got, right? Okay, why not? A guard from the Countess' men came rushing in and drew his blade for the first citizen. The blade was another runic weapon, but had a dull polish, and I guessed the runic blacksmith had forged it. Boris swung the new blade twice and seemed content and unconcerned. He moved to meet me in the center of the sand, his confidence still evident. Castile looked at both of us. Acknowledge you are both ready. I tapped my blade on the shield. I would have used a black blade, but it was a few inches longer than what I was accustomed to. Okay. Boris tapped his sword on his shield, and I frowned, realizing it also had runic patterns, and thought I might have made a mistake. Oh, the shield. Oh, fuck. Begin, Castile said, backing away. Oh, I'm terrified. Boris started to circle me toward my shield arm, and I did likewise. The men of the company were getting loud with encouragement and suggestions. Their support had quite an array of colorful words. I circled faster and created an arc of air shields around the unsuspected Boris. Boris's skin got darker as he turned to follow my movements. My biggest advantage was that the air shields were only visible to me. When they reached his back, I stepped forward, and he prepared to receive my attack. Instead, I just added more air shields, boxing him in. This was one of Constantine's ideas, but he was not here to take credit for it. Where is Constantine? Oh, right, he and Flavius are with the dragon. No, they're on their way back. It was too late when he realized the trap, as Boris felt the first air shield at his elbow. His confidence evaporated as he searched for movement while I narrowed his confinement before the shields dissipated. I set the air shields off the ground, just above his knee to over his head. He worked his runic weapon into an air shield, trying to destroy the invisible shield, while I swung in an arc low at his feet. He jumped to avoid the swipe, but his head met another shield I had placed over his head. My sword slashed his shin, but barely penetrated. He really did have magically hardened skin. I had thought my first strike would have ended the fight. I slashed again as he destroyed the first air shield, giving him an escape route, but I replaced it before he could free himself. However, this time, my attack cut deeper. My third strike targeted his Achilles. I did not get much penetration on the tendon, but it was enough as he went to one knee. I added another air shield above his head so he could not regain his feet. Although I had tried to tune out the noise, Adrian's command voice reached me through the shouts. Do not let up till he yields, Eric. Boris had produced a potion and was going to drink it. I could see the gaps in my shields that would expire soon, and I lunged forward to stab Boris in the ribs. The tip of my blade entered 4 inches into him. Ha ha! And I could feel it grating on bone as it reached the liver. Oh my god! I yanked the sword sideways, killing him immediately. Cutting his organs. Wah! The sudden pain caused Boris to drop the potion, and his sword while his mother screamed for someone to help him. My adrenaline started to fade, and the crowd noises returned. Castile declared, Boris is incapacitated. Do you agree, Countess? Heal him, she yelled at the old healer in the crowd, ignoring Castile. I removed my blade, and blood oozed from the wounds as Boris clutched at it. Dark blood flowed, and the old man kneeled to help. Castile interrupted. Boris, do you yield? Boris nodded, his eyes slightly glassy from blood loss. Castile nodded, and the burnt healer started sweating as he forced Ether painfully through himself to heal Boris. Let's go! We won! Yay! Dreamscape is ours. Dreamscape is ours. Get fucked. I waited while the healer struggled after closing the wound. I had probably damaged more than the liver, and the healer was already very low on Ether from helping men in the company today. Castile walked over, bent, picked up the potion, and fed it to Boris. His complexion went from pale to slightly pink. It was a full healing potion, so I knew he would live. A few minutes later, Boris stood. The old healer could nod and was clearly in a lot of pain from using too much Ether in his burnt channels. Matteo and Felix came to help the healer stand and assisted him to a bench to sit on. Matteo hissed as he passed me, carrying the healer. Amazing, Eric! I still want to try your amulet. Boris was angry as he regained himself. I did not concede, nor did I request outside assistance. The fight is still in process. Shut the fuck up. Castile shook her head, hiding a smug expression from Boris. The Countess was assigned proxy. She called for outside assistance, and it was given. First Citizen Boris, the contest is over. Duchess Veronica could not hide her own smirk. Brother, this is my citadel, and I rule you lost by the terms written, agreed upon, and signed. The prizes belong to the Legionnaire. Boris fumed and stormed away, seeing he would not get any assistance from his sister. The Duchess was clearly happy with the outcome, and her brother being embarrassed was a bonus. Castile was right in that I had made an enemy today. Maviet's huge hand clapped me on the back, causing me to stumble forward. Soon I was surrounded by men of the company, receiving congratulations and praise. I forced my way past them to the platform to get my prizes, sending the amulet to storage and picking up Boris's dungeon blade. Duchess Veronica looked down at me, smiling. That was an interesting means of achieving victory. I congratulate you on a well-earned victory and prizes. I wonder, because now he has a dungeon blade. But it's not a runic blade, is it? Because I was like, maybe he will keep this one and give the other one to someone else. Because why does he need to? Countess Angela approached furiously. He cannot keep the blade, Veronica. Have him return it immediately. Oh my god, you're also a fucking bitch. I looked between the mother and daughter, each of them challenging the other with lightning stares. But it's legal. It's illegal. I would probably be made a target if I carried a runic weapon like that. I addressed Duchess Veronica. Are the black blade and Boris's blade equal in value? Could I trade you Boris's blade for the black one to keep? Oh, okay. I mean, I guess, sure. I knew I was getting the worst end of the deal, but I would end up with a runic blade either way. Okay, both of them are runic. I was thinking the aged black blade was fairly inconspicuous compared to the shiny, almost luminescent dungeon blade. Castile eyed the Duchess as she considered a response. They had formed a good relationship, and the Duchess would not ruin it. I agreed to your terms. The dungeon blade is more than twice the value of the black. Would you accept both blades? She indicated the orc-forged blade that was intended for Brutus. Castile nodded approvingly at me, and I took it that was a fair trade. I picked up the other blade and left Boris's blade on the stage. I guess that blade now belonged to Duchess Veronica. The fireworks between the Countess and Duchess were not over, and I tried to retreat quickly. Matteo asked me again to borrow the amulet. Just for one night, Eric. You need to be able to channel Eder to use it, Matteo, I told him, walking past. Of course, someone else would probably activate it for him, but I was not certain of that. Matteo frowned. I passed Adrian and told him, I will be in the Northwest Tower getting some rest. I was happy maybe it was on my heels. I was sure he would be a deterrent to any mischief by Boris until we left for the ruins. I did not head directly to the tower. Instead, I veered off and went to the library. I wanted to talk with Scholar Fabian about some elven potions and daggers. Ooh. Holy shit, that was so intense. Oh, so much shit. Oh my god. Okay, but we still have one more chapter. I also feel like these chapters are way longer. Or maybe it's just me. Chapter 125. Preparation. With Mavius trailing me, I entered the library. Scholar Fabian was sorting books on a table. Eric, I'm not ready yet. Still trying to decide which book will be most helpful on the expedition. You were coming to the haunted ruins? I asked, surprised at the old scholar's statement. Of course. Are you not here to pack my things? Mage Casil said half of your dimensional space is at my disposal, and you and Maviet would carry my pack and food. But I think I can carry my own food, he added with a wink. I stacked a few books on top of each other that he was not using. This is about half the size of the space scholar. I realized the other half of my space was probably going to be the potions from Decimus. It would mean I would not be able to pull extra items out of my dimensional space during the expedition, and I was going to have to suffer and carry my gear like everyone else. Fabian started using the pile to sort his chosen books. He hemmed and hawed as he made life or death decisions in his mind. I waited patiently while he finished, stacking 8 tomes beside my pile. There. All the books have maps of or pictures of the ancient elven city. I wish I had time to copy them as I only need a few pages from each. I moved the selected books to the storage. Fabian frowned. I was still going to cross-reference a few things. Never mind. I should focus on packing my other gear. I took the opportunity to ask a question. Fabian, I recently fought the elven summoners and took this as a prize. Can you tell me anything about it? I placed the runic dagger on the table. Maybe its eyes went wide. That is an exquisite dagger, Eric. You already had a runic weapon. Now you have 3? Maybe it said in awe. I had forgotten as well. I shrugged. This is actually a secret. I would prefer if no one knew I had it. Even if people found out, I was unconcerned. I planned to sell the dagger eventually, and the more I knew about it, the better I could negotiate the price. I was also testing the waters on whether I would ask Fabian to read the script on the 3 elven potions. Scholar Fabian handled the blade delicately as he studied it. Maybe it is right. This is a piece of artwork. He studied the runic script and other markings on the blade. I cannot read runes. You will need to have the Adventurers Guild use a revelation scroll on it and find an enchanter to decipher them. Most blades have durability, sharpness, or ever-clean runes on them. But I can tell you what these markings are. He indicated the fine script along the blade. Maybe it leaned in to look over my shoulder as I studied where he pointed. And? It was similar to the elven script I had seen in the books. Scholar Fabian smiled. It is a legacy blade. See this fine, tiny script here. These are the names of everyone who has been gifted the blade and when they received it. I am unfamiliar with the calendar system, so I cannot age the weapon. Can you read the names? Maviet asked curiously. There are 5 here. Aelua Joriath, Filderay Glavian, Shera Glavian, Alien Glavian, and Relia Glavian. All feminine names. If I am not mistaken, probably a gift given from mother to daughter when they came of age. But that is just my guess. He pointed. This here is the forger's mark. It is not a name, and I have not studied the famous elven smiths, so I cannot tell you if it is significant. The last name Fabian read was Relia Glavian. Was that the name of the nearly dead elf griffin rider in my storage? In my storage. Most likely. She was going to be made into an essence when I had the opportunity. Wow. Knowing her name made me feel a little guilty about it, but it was unlikely to change my mind. Wow. I had the 2... Oh shit, sorry. I was so shocked. I had the 2 elven backpacks, but both were larger than my dimensional storage, so I would have to search those in private to avoid questions. I was assuming they had food and camping gear. Now was not the time, as we moved out into the morning to explore the ruins of Kaelora. I took the dagger and sent it to my dimensional space. Maybe it stood up from his crouch. I found one other interesting thing on the summoner. I randomly produced one of the potions and handed it to him. The off-green liquid appeared viscous in the test tube-sized vial. I will not question the method of obtaining these. I heard you were left behind to fight a dragon by yourself, Scholar Fabian said, taking the potion interestedly. I told you I was a messenger rider in the army. Sometimes we do things out of necessity in battle. He studied the script. This is the alchemist's mark here. The date is here with expected efficiency. The potion is named Dominate Creature. There is a book in the Duchess library that talks about potions. Give me a moment. Fabian excitedly went to the magic section, took just a few seconds to pull the book he wanted, and returned. Eagerly paging through it, he found the entry. A Dominate Creature potion allows the imbiber to beguile a beast. They will think you are friendly, and, if you are able to communicate with them, will perform tasks for you. The greater the intellect and resilience of the creature, the more likely they are to resist the effect. He handed me the book, and I returned the potion to my dimensional space. I'm just going to page through this book. I have been working with Decimus, and I'm interested in the different types of potions an alchemist can brew, I said, sitting in the chair. There are probably very few alchemists in the Empire that can brew that potion. The upper right has difficulty brewing it. Tier 4, Fabian said. I saw 4 stars after the name and nodded my thanks. I paged through the book while Maviet waited for me and then replaced it on the shelf. Thank you, Fabian, I said, shaking wrists with the aging scholar. Maviet waited for me, and we headed to the tower. I found Matteo and Felix in our room, playing checkers. Oh, Maviet's gonna be happy. I got next game, Maviet said excitedly, going to the table. Matteo looked at Felix. I told you he would eventually come back here. He focused on me. Delmar said to find you and have you see the alchemist and scholar about filling your space. Felix interrupted. I was told to find you. Matteo just followed me like a puppy. He has not shut up about your dreamscape amulet and its possibilities. Eric is going to let me try it out. Right, Eric? Matteo said pleadingly. I told you. You need to be able to channel your ether, Matteo, I said as Matteo deflated. Are Constantine and Flavius back yet? I moved to start preparing my gear on my bed. Matteo was sulking by filling a goblet from the ale cask. Felix answered while starting a game with Maviet. No, they have not returned. Brutus is looking for you too. Said you have his sword. He chuckled. Matteo was on his second cup. How did you get so good with the blade, Eric? I remember when you joined us a few months ago. You couldn't beat a single one of us in the company. Constantine, I offered as an answer. Matteo nodded at that, knowing how hard Constantine had worked me while he had trained me. When I finished packing, I went to the alchemist floor above. Decimus was working furiously between multiple processes. Eric, give me 20 minutes. No, wait. Watch that table and release the pressure if it gets too high. I ended up helping Decimus for over 2 hours. A few hours ago, I was a celebrated company champion, and now I was the alchemist's lackey. Decimus' skin had returned to normal, but was sweat-drenched as he worked. Eric, thank you. I wanted to try and run at the lesser healing potions since Castile is leaving tomorrow. But put these 6 in your storage immediately. The harmonization was not powerful, but I think they will work. Also, there are 20 vials of healing salve over there. My processing is improving, and they should last a good amount of time. He sat down exhausted in a chair. You mean you're not coming with us? I asked, with a smile he did not catch. Decimus jumped up suddenly, nervous and fidgety. What? Did Castile say I was going with the company? His face was showing panic and fear. No, I just thought you might want to go. Scholar Fabian is going, I said, trying not to laugh at his comical fear. Then again, I had become numb to danger and had not even thought about the dangers of going to an undead city. I was not sure if I was just not afraid or just certain I would somehow find a way to survive. Decimus relaxed, seeing he was not recruited. I am happy in my tower. However, Sobral is not what I expected. The people have no spare coin for my remedies. Now, with winter almost here, I will lack fresh ingredients, and harmonizing potions is going to become challenging. I took the vials he indicated, and was disappointed he had no more mouthwash for me. I wished Decimus well and went downstairs. Matteo was gone, and Felix and Maviot were still playing checkers. We headed down for the evening meal in the barracks. We sat with Firth. Firth gave me an unhappy stare, probably for besting him and winning the blade. Firth still dispensed the gossip to me. The Countess is moving her men into the barracks after we leave tomorrow. Apparently, they are staying through winter as the war with the Barbaradians is intensifying. Felix inquired while eating half a roasted chicken with his hands. Where are we going to stay when we return? First, we need to return, Firth said hotly. Focus on that. The meal proceeded in silence after Firth's harsh and uncharacteristic comment. I ended up watching a dice game after eating. Benito was running it, of course, and he seemed to win more often than not. They were only playing for coppers, but I still turned down an invitation. Constantine and Flavius are back, Blaze said from the door. Both scouts entering the dining hall after him, to cheers as Constantine held up the prize, the essence collector. Flavius scanned the room, found me, and locked eyes with me for a moment before turning away. Delmar appeared, and the 2 scouts followed him to meet with Castile and Adrian. I was a little worried that they had not asked me to join them. I was the one who had killed the wyvern, and wondered I was the one who had killed the wyvern and wondered what they had figured out. I watched the dice game, and the longer Constantine and Flavius took, the more paranoid I became. Delmar was with them when they returned, and he approached me with purpose. Eric, did you get the potions from the alchemist? He asked quietly. Quickly. Yes, 20 salves and 6 lesser healing, but he thinks the efficiency period is short on the lesser healing, so I need to keep them stored, I reported. Good. Castile wants to see you. She's in the last room down the hallway, Delmar pointed. He then raised his voice for the dozen men still in the dining room. Get to your bunks. Breakfast at first light, and then we march. Groans erupted, but everyone began cleaning up. I stood and walked down the hallway Delmar had indicated. These were the officers' room for the barracks, and there were 4 of them. The last door on the right was open. Castile was in the room looking at some items on the table. A single bed was against the wall, under a small window. She looked at me quizzically. Eric, come in and shut the door behind you. I closed the door and took the only other seat at the table across from Castile. We eyed each other expectantly. Oh my god. Holy shit. All of Eric's fucking secret is coming out. I'm super excited about it, but I'm also pissed about it. But it's so exciting. Oh my god. Okay. Oh. Oh, but I want to see what they're gonna talk about now. She's like, what the fuck more are you hiding from me? Or like, this is what they said about the wyvern, and Flavius is obviously like, oh, okay. Ah, so much stuff. Great start of book 3, by the way. Holy shit. I'm excited to see what will happen more and what they will talk about next time. Oh. Very exciting, very exciting. Good shit. Good shit indeed. Nice reading. Thank you. Thank you, Yanni. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, but that will also be it for today, and we will be back on Monday again. If everything goes well, which it should. Oh, yeah, but cute. The hiccups are going crazy. Whew. Castile, any more secrets? I might have an elven noble girl in my storage. She's currently taking care of the goblin child. I mean, technically has a wyvern in storage as well, because he has part of its brain, which is technically the wyvern itself. So... Nice, see you on Monday. Yeah, see you on Monday. Have a nice day. Yes, everyone. I will wish you all a happy weekend with this outro. I blink and full stream end. No! Thank you all so much for joining. It was very fun today. Very fun, very fun. On Monday, we'll be back. Hopefully next week I can make a bit of a longer streams again. We will see. Maybe not on Monday though. I will stream on Monday. Don't worry. We will just see next week. I will still stream. I'm not planning to miss anything. Anyhow, thanks so much for watching. Please feel free to follow me on Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Blue Sky. Join the Discord. And I hope everyone has an amazing weekend. Tell me about it on Monday. Because I will see you then. Hey-do. Bye-bye. Thank you for the shoutouts. Bye.